had not tried to reach into the sink to retrieve the knife or pulled out his gun. He had simply broken the waiter's neck, let his body fall into the blood that was already draining onto the tile floor beside the first man, and gone on. He had walked the next 10 feet to that door, stepped into the dining room, and started shooting. The shooting should have been comforting to Milliken, because that was what lots of lifelong losers had chosen as their final act. In those cases, it was half murder and half suicide, because they were trying to induce the police to come and put them out of their misery. If the cops didn't appear right away, they usually shot themselves. But this time, the shooting was full of signs that something else had been going on. The killer had not simply arrived at the restaurant, burst in and pulled out a gun. He had come first to the front of the building, put a chain and padlock on the front door, and covered the window with a closed sign before he had gone around to the back. That was disturbing. It had been meant to keep new customers from coming in, of course, but it also ensured that once the shooting started, the only way out would be to step over the shooter. This killer had known too much about the way people would behave. They wouldn't even try. The ones near the front door would grasp the handle and get the bad news. The ones farther from it would go low, try to hide behind tables and chairs and each other, and a few would just be paralyzed, too amazed to do anything but let their jaws drop open. This killer had known what to expect. The shooter had selected. Probably the first round was the one he put through the forehead of the man at the third table. The position of the body indicated the man hadn't dodged or ducked, just looked up and died. The others had come after. They were sprawled, hid anywhere, backs, faces, whatever was visible, when they ran or crouched. Milliken had one more thing to look for. He walked along the far wall, then stood at the front door, examined the backs of seats and the vinyl upholstery of the booths. He lingered for a moment over the spot where the bodies of the 2 children lay. Lieutenant Cowan was at his elbow. Cowan was aware that Milliken had made the full tour now, and that he had seen it all. "What do you think?" he asked. Cowan seemed to be in his early 30s, but he had that red-faced, apoplectic look that 2 of Milliken's uncles had developed when he was a child. They had looked as though it would take only one more aggravating circumstance to make them explode. Milliken pursed his lips, then looked down again. "I don't envy you. I think you've got the genuine article here." "What do you mean, the genuine article? A random shooter? We figured out that much. All we had to do was count." Milliken shook his head. "Not a nutcase. A pro." Cowan seemed to be struggling to keep his reaction from being impolite. Milliken was doing the department a favor, and he was an important man, a name. "Why would a professional killer come in and do all these people in a restaurant? Little kids like this. Did somebody pay him for the first dozen people he saw?" "He wants you to think he's a guy who wears camouflage fatigues around the house. He wants you to think that tonight he got a big headache and heard Jesus tell him he wanted new angels, but that isn't who he is. He came for one of these people, just one. My guess would be this guy over here with his brain blown out the back of his skull. He shot him first." Cowan's face compressed in a wince, his eyes squinting at the floor. "I'm not sure what to do with that. What I'd suggest is that you look as hard as you can for the shooter from now until dawn. You won't find him, but you might learn something you'd like to know about him. Then find out who would have paid to have one of these people killed, and get that person into a very small room. Offer him a deal that he can't pass up." "A deal? On 13 people?" Cowan was shocked. Milliken shrugged. "It's the way you get a hired killer." His eyes turned away from Cowan and returned to the front wall of the restaurant. He bent over and walked the length of it. "What are you looking for now?" "Holes." Milliken gestured at the door. "None there either, except the ones that went through somebody. None anywhere. He comes in the back, silently takes out the dishwasher." "He was the cook," said Cowan. "Or one of them. The others went home when the last meal of the night was delivered." "All right, the cook. He does them with a knife he finds. It doesn't affect him at all. He puts the knife in the sink to let the prints soak off. The waiter comes in and surprises him, but not enough to do any good. He gives the waiter's neck a twist and drops him on the way into the dining room. He pulls out the gun he brought. His hand is absolutely steady. No fear, not even any nerves. He pops 11 people.